Hello, this is Robin. I'm going to be carving this little dish today. I made it over a plaster drape mold and cleaned it up. I've already carved the bottom, and this is actually a dish that I'm going to use in my own house. We just renovated our bathroom, and I wanted to make some pieces to go in there. So here we go. I'm just going to do pattern in this today. And I'm just going to start giving myself a little frame. It kind of gets my head into thinking about the piece and what's going to be best suited image-wise. I left a little bit at the top because I'm going to have whatever I have in here kind of break into the frame. So that's what the purpose of that was. And I'm really not sure what I'm going to put there. Probably a flower because I feel like it. All right, so let's start with the flower. And the clay is a brown clay that we mix here ourselves. It's 1 part fire clay, 1 part gold art, and 1 part red art, I think. And so after I'll build a piece out of that, then my husband will spray white slip that he makes over it to get a nice even layer. And then when I do add color, if I decide to add color, the colors will be nice and even because the white layer was consistent all the way across. This is a tool by a company called Kemper, K-E-M-P-E-R, and it's a set of, I think there's 6 little tools that come together. It's called mini ribbon tools, and there's a few different shapes. This is one of the ones that I use most often. Can you see that? The reason you use a brush instead of your hand, you can blow, is your hand can warm up the clay and cause it to smear, and we don't want to do that. So you can blow on it or brush it with brush, but try not to rub your hand across it. So about 1.5 years ago, we started renovations on our house, and one of the first things we did was tear out the bathroom right off of our bedroom. Thinking, that's good. Well, that was, we did that. We tore out the carpet. We replaced the carpet with some hardwoods that my husband had taken to a sawmill where they cut it into planks. They're all different widths. It's really neat. But anyway, the bathroom has been the last thing to get finished in this 1.5 year process of renovation. But it really looks nice, and I just figure, well, it's need to fancy up some of the things that we have in there. So I'm making some special stuff for that bathroom. I have a little bamboo soap dish that will sit in this. So this is really just to keep the crud from the soap from dropping through onto the countertop. And the countertop is really pretty. My husband made it out of some, what is it called? It's pine. Crap, I can't think of the actual name for it. But it's beautiful. It's just gorgeous. Big wide planks, and it's just amazing. But you know, everybody thinks differently. I do not think like he does. And I guess the world would be boring if we all thought the same. If we all had the same abilities. We'd have a real boring world. But I take direction pretty well, so if he asks me to do something, I can help him. Yeah. All right, so I started with a little flower up in the corner of my frame. Yeah. And where I'm going from here, I'm not positive yet. I'm still thinking. Let's see. Some more flowers down here. I worked as an illustrator and a graphic designer for years and years and years. And then, so drawing is just something I've always done. So this translates very well to the ceramic pieces. My parents were both artists, so I learned from the best. I didn't know it when I was little bitty. You know, my dad went to work. That's what I knew. My mom worked at home, and she worked as an illustrator, and she had a little drawing board set up in the corner of our den in Nashville, and I often sat next to her at a little children's folding table, and I'd sit there, and she would be drawing things. Sometimes she'd decide she didn't like what she drew, and she'd throw it in the trash, and I would get it out of the trash and flatten it out and everything, and then sit and try to do what she had done. And then years later, she and I worked together. I will say I am not a good graphic designer. I have a stepdaughter that just, well, anything she tries to do, she does extremely well. But as a graphic designer, I've always been so impressed with the way she thinks. She's just amazing. I don't even really like calling her my stepdaughter. Two things. One, she was my friend before her dad and I got married, and at the same time, I'd be so honored that I'm honored to call her my stepdaughter. I'd be honored to call her my daughter. She's just amazing. Now I'm getting all weepy, so I'm going to shut up. So, what are we working on here? I'm working on little flowers. And I'm not going to fill the whole thing up with flowers because I want to refer back to the patterns that I have on the back. So I'll just somehow bring those into the top of this. Many years ago, my child's school asked if they were having an international festival, and they asked if I would work in part of it where they were studying India or whatever, and I was asked to do little temporary henna tattoos, so draw on the children's hands or whatever. And it's called Mindy. A lot of times hands are decorated in beautiful ornate patterns with henna, so it stains the skin for several days. And when I started working in clay about 8 or 9 years ago, I went back and started looking at those patterns because I just found them just beautiful, and that is what a lot of the background stuff that I do ends up being inspired by those patterns. Now I guess I could worry about these lines being straight and completely parallel, but then I'm not a machine, and I'm not interested in things being perfect. Okay. This one will probably not have any color on it. I mean, I don't know until I'm done, but I'm thinking I may just leave it brown and white and just put a clear glaze over the top. The bottom will stay brown and white. I'm not gonna put any glaze on that at all. No color or clear, because it's on the bottom. All right. There we are so far. This is just going to be very boring and repetitive here, so I'm just going to do a little bit of this. It'll continue this way, but I'm going to break from here and have this little pattern start escaping here. This was not pre-planned or anything. I'm not saying that's not a good idea. That actually is a very good idea. It's just I don't really think that way. So just think of how much wonderful stuff would happen if I would just actually think ahead, get something done. So there's little bits in the base of each of these diamonds will have the introduction of the flower over here. And anyway, after I fire all these, I'll probably revisit this and glaze this piece in front of you. So anyway, this is it for today, and you'll see it after it's done and fired and glazed. All right.